Hey John, this is looking really, really nice. I just have a few notes to sell the weight a bit more, the inertia, there are some pops, but overall it's looking really nice. So just pass by pass, I think we can polish this and yeah, bring it to a nice level. So first of all, first look at see how when he hunches down to get the anticipation, see how the knees and the lower parts of the legs are completely stuck there. So as the character goes down, you should maybe adjust the hips maybe a bit more forward. But the thing is, you want to create that feeling that the knees are also moving forward to create that kind of a squash. Because right now, the knees are kind of stuck on the same place and he's just moving the hips back. But maybe he doesn't need to move the hips back, or you need to squash him down a bit more. But the thing is, you need to get so that the knees move forward and the lower part of the legs actually move as well. And then here, okay, boom, boom, boom. Maybe you don't need to overlap the arms by 2 frames. By 1 frame, I think it's gonna be enough because right now they feel a bit too disconnected one from each other. So maybe just this is nice, but this is too much. 2 frames of overlap between arms, maybe it's a bit too much. Then here, when he pushes himself up, also would be nice to see clear where he's standing, because right now, because of the colors and everything, it's not really clear. So maybe if you can change the color of where he's standing, something that makes it clear that he's on a ledge or something, so it's a bit clear for the audience where he's standing. Because I can see here that he's onto something, but because of his it's the same color of this, so maybe change the color a bit, make it a bit darker or something, so that we can see it clear. um, so yeah, when he jumps, make sure that the feet are still touching the ground, because right now here, um, he's pushing himself up, but the feet are already um, away. They are not touching the ground anymore, so he's not pushing himself. Also, when he's pushing himself, see how the feet, this back foot that is actually pushing a bit, is actually pushing, seems to be pushing up. It's not pushing forward. You need to get that energy to be pushing forward. So the feet would actually be with the foot roll a bit, but bent over to the direction where he's jumping. And same with here. So you want to get that foot roll so that the feeling is that he's pushing himself forward as well. So the ankle feels connected, because right now the ankle feels quite disconnected because it doesn't seem that the feet is pushing himself forward, since that the feet is just pushing himself actually back a bit. So yeah, a small detail there. And then when he jumps, see how the jump feels a bit floaty, feels that doesn't have much energy to it. And I know this is hard because you are going for a realistic level animation, which is probably the hardest to get right. But I mean, it's coming along, so just have to pay even closer attention to everything. So, for example, here, boom, you want to create a stronger inertia in the jump. So what I would do here is, boom, delete this frame. So this in between, I would actually um, oh, I got disconnected. Okay. Um, so this frame I would actually delete it. So this in between, I would remove it completely. But the thing is, you can adjust that so that, because actually in the hang time, my note is actually that when he's up here, I would add one more frame so that it's more like fast up, then hang time, and then down. Right now it's a bit more like too even. So it's like two, and we want more like two, boom. So kind of the bouncing ball. You want fast up, then hang time, and then down. Not, you don't want even up, hang and down, because right now it's a bit too even. All the motion is a bit too even. You want more fast, hang and down. So that would be it. So yeah, by removing this frame, so going directly to this one, making sure that the feet are touching the ground. Then this frame, maybe this frame, I would also delete it. And by delete it, I mean shift it over this part. So when he has the hang time here, take those two frames and make so that in the graph editor, the part where it defines the up and down movement of the hip, so you have these two frames here on the jump that we just deleted. So these two frames, you're gonna take them so the curve is gonna be a bit more vertical, and these two frames you're gonna move them so that instead of having a short hang time, you're gonna have a longer hang time. So these two frames, you put them here so that you have a longer hang time, and we see the hips, um, the hang time on the hips and the body a bit longer, so it's not going up and down so fast. Okay, and even if you want, you can try to move the body up a bit further up so that it reaches a higher point, because right now it feels like the jump is a bit too on the same line. So this is the line of the hips when he's just jumping, and see how this is the line, and this is the highest point of the jump. So see how it goes fairly, doesn't go up that much in camera. So would be nice to make it go a bit higher. Then when he's moving the arms forward, I would bend them a bit so that they are not completely straight the whole transition. So keep them bent here a bit more so that there's a bit of overlap to the arms so that they don't feel so rigid there. Then he's going down. Be careful here with the arm, because see how the arm is going up, then kind of does stop moving up a bit. Well, he's still moving up a bit, rotating up, I mean, by the shoulder. Then pop, moving up and then down. So it's a bit, because see in camera here it's moving down, but rotating up from here, but it's moving down, and then in this frame it's moving up. So you have to take into account how they look in camera. So for example, here maybe you don't need to go down that much, so that in this frame the arm keeps moving down a bit more. The hand, we don't see the hand, even though it's not moving up, but because the body is moving down, you see the spacing here. The spacing here from here is quite big, and then from here and here it gets really small, and then boom, gets really big again. So polish that so that the transition, the fluidity of the arm is a bit smoother. And also be careful here, boom, this is a huge pop from here to here. So also on overall note in the animation is go frame by frame analyzing the arms and making sure that things like this don't happen. You don't have such a big spacing over one frame. So for example, if you have to have which pose do you have to have? So you have to have this pose, the arms forward here. Okay, so as you can see, the arms are a long time in this forward position, and so actually you lose a bit the inertia with the arms. So he's just jumping with the legs, but because the arms are forward such a long time, he's not pushing himself almost with the arms. See how he only have this inertia from here to here. So the inertia that he gets with the arms is very little. This is the inertia he gets with the arms. But if you hold the arms back a bit longer, so that also here, I wouldn't make it this way. I would actually make the arm go down, so that, because he wants to jump again. So the arm goes down, keeps, sorry, too many drawings here now. So the arms keeps going down, creating that arc, so that down, down, maybe here, down, maybe around here, maybe around here, boom, so that we get the inertia with the arm, all this inertia from the fall, and then transitioning that inertia on this arc, and then forward, we get the inertia with the arm for the next jump. So we connect the motion of the arm from the fall to the next jump. Same with the other one. Connect the, so that when he's falling, go making the arc down, and then as he's moving the arms forward, is the perfect timing for when this happens. So that you see, down and forward. So you connect the arms to the next jump. Okay. What else? Oh, here, be careful with that. Again, such a big space. Oh, I went offline again. Sorry about that. Um, uh, Such a big spacing here on the back arm. So again, make sure that if this is the pose that you have to have, make sure that the transition, maybe from here, you start to move the arm down and back, so that the transition is a bit smoother and you don't have such a big spacing, because this reads like a pop. This one and this one, too much, too big spacing. Then he jumps, be careful here, this reads as a pop, such a big rotation in the head over one frame. So maybe here you already want to start rotating the head up, so that it connects better. Or even if you want to get the body down, maybe you don't, let me correct that, maybe you don't want to start to rotate the head down here, but instead here you don't rotate the head that much. And so in this frame, and this frame is the one that reaches this pose, but over 2 frames the head is moving up instead of over 1 frame, over 3 frames instead of one. Then an important part, because the most important part now is the hips here, is here. See how the hips are having this inertia here, this inertia here, this inertia. Keep the inertia moving forward with the hips. Boom, boom, boom. See how the hips here seems to get a bit stuck. You lose the inertia that you were creating here. Boom, you were accelerating, creating the inertia, and then kind of stops the inertia. Keep the inertia moving, and the hips are gonna be a bit down as well. And here as well, keep the inertia moving forward. They're gonna be more like this. And so here the hips are gonna be more like this. So you're gonna be more on this pose. And so when he jumps, because right now, if you see the inertia, boom, the inertia feels a bit more up, and then the body moves forward. So he's creating this inertia. See how this doesn't flow as good as maybe you wanted to? See this inertia up and then forward. So because the inertia that you created here is this inertia, this direction, but you want to go this direction. So you want to orient the body a bit lower, so that the inertia, the direction of the jump is like this. Because right now you're oriented this way. So you want to orient the body this way, so that the inertia flows more the way that the jump goes. Maybe it doesn't have to be that much. Maybe it's more something in the middle, but you know what I mean, right? So not as vertical as you have it. Then nice. I would also let me see the legs here. be careful here, because here the back leg reads as a pop here. So try to smooth that out. For example, here see how this reads as a pop, the back leg. So in here you want to have a closer, so this pose you want to have it a bit closer to the next pose, so it doesn't read as a pop. And then therefore this pose is going to be a bit closer, and the previous pose is going to be a bit closer. So adjust the previous poses so that from here the leg starts to move forward, and so this part reads is more fluid, it doesn't read as a pop. And same here, it reads a bit as a pop. So here maybe you don't need to rotate as much, maybe you can have it a bit back, then something like this, and then something like this, and then boom. Maybe this one has to be like you have it, because it's gonna step already. So yeah, maybe this pose has to have, that's the has to have, right? So in this pose you have to have this pose. So in this one it's gonna be has to have this one, even you're gonna have to have it even a bit further even. So you're gonna have to adjust these poses. So maybe in this pose you're gonna have to already have this leg a bit more like this. So you're gonna have to compensate with the other legs. So it's a compensation game, right? So that you get a nice transition. So maybe here is nice, but here the leg starts already. The leg starts to already move the. I lost connection again. 1 second. And the leg starts to already move down to boom, 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 boom. And so this one is gonna be probably as you have it already, and like that. But so something like that. So it connects a bit more with the movement. Then then in the jump, I think it feels a bit. We need a bit more inertia. So for example, here, be careful. Make sure that the. Let me eliminate this. Make sure that the feet that is pushing off the ground is connecting with the ground, because right now this is the push pose, but no feet are touching the ground. So you need to have at least one feet showing that is pushing himself off the ground. And then this, make sure that the feet are still a bit pushing the recoil of the push, because right now it feels too rigid there, completely parallel. It feels a bit odd. So keep it flowing, the feet. And then this jump feels a bit too smooth, too floaty a bit. So maybe this pose, so you got the jump. So this part maybe is too slow. So maybe this one I would delete this pose. And this one is a jump. And maybe this pose as well. But you would have to adjust so that this pose is a bit lower. So basically I would remove 2 frames from this. Obviously you're gonna have to do a bit of adjustment, but remove one. Let's try with 1 or 2 frames at first, so that the transition is a bit faster, because right now it feels a bit too slow. And then be careful here, because here see how the track the head, for example. Here the head is doing a nice arc, but then over 1 frame see how boom, feels like a pop going down. So if it's going this arc, this arc should be a bit higher the head. Same here, this arc. See? So it flows naturally. The head, I put it, maybe I put the head too forward, but I mean the height. So go lower with the head progressively, not over one frame, because you do the same here. See? Over one frame, the head just pops down and then gets into position. So this frame the head goes a bit lower, so that maybe this one doesn't have to go as much low, and then a bit lower, and then so that the transition of the head is smoother, so you don't have over one frame that those pops. So drag the head as well, make sure that this is a smooth movement. Then with the legs as well, all these pads feel a bit rigid, so you don't need to keep them straight. So as you can see, I draw something like that, something like this would happen. So he falls, hits the container, the legs already bend, and the legs already start to kind of get ready to push himself off the container, and so something like this, and the legs would be already, boom, already prepared to for the for for the fall. So he would be getting into kind of this kind of pose, like more or less here. He would already be something like getting ready into this pose. Maybe not exactly as this pose, but something like this, something like this pose would be already here. So this kind of angle already here. Okay. Same as well. Drag the hands, make sure that they don't have this such a big spacing over one frame. Boom, then big spacing, then kind of get stuck on the air for such a big long time. So if you're gonna have this margin, you don't need such a big spacing here. So keep the arms lower, make a smoother transition so that it's a bit smoother the movement. Then he falls down. Then as here you can see how when he falls down, this leg is almost feels like it gets is kind of it's too straight on the ground, so it's a bit odd. And I know this is kind of a hard thing to do, but the first thing you're gonna need to adjust is he's falling down. I wouldn't twist the arms like that. I would actually try to get something more like this, favoring the silhouette. So this arm is nice like this, like you have it more or less. And then this arm, you can raise it up so that it flows a bit more with the silhouette. See how you have it here? So a bit more. And then, so the thing is, again, the arm, be careful with such a big spacing. But the thing we need to fix here first is the hips. So the hips are gonna go down. The hips have the inertia down. So this is the hips. They have the inertia down. See the big spacing. And then when the foot contacts the ground, the hips are not gonna stop over one frame. You have to keep in account the inertia they have. So if the hips have this big spacing over one frame, the next frame, then the next frame is gonna be, even though he stopped himself, it's gonna be already here. And then here, and then here, and then here. So you're gonna have to create that, see, that arc in the hips. So the poses that you create are gonna have to be a bit in that essence. Of course, maybe this is not gonna be a good example in this case because it's rolling, so maybe it's not gonna be that high, but something like this, something, the arc is gonna be something like that. So he's rolling, and you have to keep the, because when the character goes into a ball, the center of mass stops being the hips and starts being something in the middle. So see, this is the point that you're gonna have to track. So maybe I'll have to give you some feedback, some extra feedback once you try to do the feedback that I give you here. But the thing is, when he goes into a roll, we have to stop tracking the hips, and we have to start to track the center of mass, which is going to be something in the middle of the body. So I mean, it's a bit hard, but I know you can do it. So the thing is, the roll, see here is a huge pop. So you're gonna have to go frame by frame, see how then the roll kind of stops this motion. So the thing is, you're gonna have to all this roll, go frame by frame, and try to smooth it out. Make sure that each frame that you move has more or less, try to have it more or less the same spacing, even if it's even spacing, because we can adjust it later, delete some frames to speed up some parts, but for the moment you have to do a cleanup so that the movement is more even. You don't have such a big contrast, so a bit more smooth. Then same here. See how over one frame everything, boom, pops a bit. So all this part until this part, make sure that really go in a few hours trying to polish and try to smooth it out. And yeah, maybe you have to delete some key poses and adjust it, but track the feet, track the hips, track the arms, track the head, and try to make it smoother. And same here, see how the hips just stop there and then boom, start to move again. And so just try to, this part is not gonna be maybe that fast. See when he stands up, don't make him stand up that fast, so it's a bit more smoother, so that until this point, this, see how it reads as a pop. So make sure that the hips, all this part has a, until this pose have a nicer spacing, so that this part is not as fast and they still move all these frames until this pose that is with a nicer and more fluid spacing. And actually the run at the end feels really nice. So maybe we can adjust some things in polish. Uh, Maybe you can try to incorporate the head motions a bit or something like that, but that's something we're gonna leave for later. So I don't overwhelm you with feedback. But this is looking really nice. I mean, I know that there are a bunch of nodes, but this is what it is. I mean, you're going for a realistic animation, which is the hardest type, so it's normal. And just implement these changes and show me a next pass, and we'll go from there until we get a nice animation, nice and polished animation. So yeah, really great job, and until the next time.